The love that Spencer Tracy could never have. 25 years of hidden heartbreak, that nearly destroyed Hollywood's greatest actor. June 15th, 1942. Spencer Tracy stood outside the door of Stage 12 at MGM Studios, his hands shaking as he prepared to meet his new co-star for Woman of the Year. He was 42 years old, a two-time Academy Award winner, and considered the finest actor of his generation. But he was also a tormented man trapped in a loveless marriage, drowning his sorrows in alcohol, and convinced that his best days were behind him. He had no idea that the woman waiting inside that soundstage would save his life and break his heart for the next 25 years. This is the Spencer Tracy story Hollywood tried to hide for decades. Not the gruff, honest everyman from the movies. Not the actor who made everything look effortless. This is about the most famous secret love affair in Hollywood history. A passion so powerful it transformed two lives. Yet so impossible it nearly destroyed them both, because Spencer Tracy fell in love with Katharine Hepburn. And in 1942, that love was not just forbidden, it was devastating. You see, Spencer Tracy wasn't just married. He was a devout Irish Catholic married to Louise Tracy, a good woman who had stood by him through his rise to stardom and his descent into alcoholism. They had two children, including a son, John, who was born deaf, a condition Spencer blamed on his own sins. In Spencer's world, in his faith, marriage was forever. Divorce wasn't just socially unacceptable. It was a mortal sin that would damn his soul for eternity. But staying in his marriage was slowly killing him. One bottle at a time. Then Katharine Hepburn walked into his life and changed everything. Kate Hepburn was everything Spencer's wife wasn't: independent, brilliant, challenging, and completely uninterested in playing by anyone else's rules. She was 34, already a major star, and had a reputation for being difficult, demanding, and utterly uncompromising. Their first meeting was legendary in Hollywood circles, though it was kept secret for decades. Kate walked onto the set of Woman of the Year wearing her trademark pants, scandalous in 1942, looked Spencer up and down and said, "I'm afraid I'm a little tall for you, Mr. Tracy." Spencer's response revealed both his wit and his character. "Don't worry, Miss Hepburn. I'll cut you down to size." But it wasn't hostility that sparked between them. It was something much more dangerous. It was recognition. They looked at each other and saw not movie stars, but kindred spirits. Two people who understood the craft of acting, the burden of fame, and the loneliness that comes with being truly exceptional at what you do. What happened next was inevitable and heartbreaking. Over the course of filming Woman of the Year, Spencer and Kate fell deeply, helplessly in love. Not the Hollywood kind of love, passionate, public, contemporary. This was something deeper, more complex, and ultimately more painful. They were perfectly matched intellectually. Kate could challenge Spencer's mind in ways no one ever had. They talked for hours about books, politics, philosophy, and the craft of acting. Spencer, who had been dismissive of most of his co-stars as intellectual lightweights, found himself awed by Kate's intelligence. They were also perfectly matched professionally. Spencer made Kate a better actress by his mere presence. His naturalistic style influenced her to tone down her more theatrical tendencies. And Kate inspired Spencer to take risks, to choose more challenging roles, to remember why he'd fallen in love with acting in the first place. But most importantly, they needed each other in ways that went beyond romance. Spencer was an alcoholic who drank to numb the pain of his failing marriage and his guilt over his son's deafness. Kate became his anchor, the one person who could talk him down from his darkest moments. She never judged him for his drinking, never lectured him about his choices. She simply loved him exactly as he was. Kate, for her part, had built walls around her heart after a series of failed relationships with weak men who were intimidated by her strength. Spencer was the first man she'd ever met who wasn't threatened by her intelligence or her independence. He loved her not despite her strength, but because of it. The problem was that their love was impossible. Spencer couldn't divorce Louise without betraying everything he believed about his faith and his responsibilities as a father. His son John needed stability, and Louise had devoted her life to advocacy for deaf children. Spencer couldn't destroy their family for his own happiness, no matter how profound that happiness might be, but he also couldn't give up Kate. She had become essential to his existence. The reason he got up in the morning, and the only thing that made sense in a world that often felt meaningless. So they made a choice that would define both their lives for the next quarter century. They would love each other completely, but they would never be able to truly have each other. The arrangement they worked out was as heartbreaking as it was practical. Spencer would remain married to Louise, living in the family home in Beverly Hills. But his real life, his emotional life, would be with Kate. They would make films together when possible. They would spend every free moment together. They would travel together, vacation together, grow old together, but they could never marry. They could never live together openly. They could never have children together. Their love would exist in the shadows, a secret that Hollywood would whisper about, but never openly acknowledge. For Kate, this meant giving up any chance of having a conventional family life. She was 34 when their affair began, past the age when most women of her era had children. By choosing Spencer, she was choosing to remain forever on the outside of his real life. For Spencer, it meant living a double life that would torment his Catholic conscience for 25 years. He would go to Mass every Sunday, knowing he was living in adultery. He would confess his sins to priests who urged him to end the affair, then walk out of the confessional and back into Kate's arms. But perhaps the most heartbreaking aspect of their arrangement was what it did to Louise Tracy. Louise wasn't blind. She knew about Kate from the beginning. The entire industry knew. But Louise made a choice that was both noble and devastating. She would pretend not to know, maintaining the fiction of her marriage to protect her children and her own dignity. Louise never confronted Spencer about Kate. She never demanded he choose. She simply endured, year after year, watching her husband love his real life with another woman while maintaining the shell of their marriage for appearances. Years later, Louise would say, "I chose to look the other way because I loved Spencer and I knew he was happier with Kate than he had ever been with me. But it nearly killed me to watch him come alive with her in ways he never had with me." The public never suspected the depth of Spencer and Kate's relationship. Hollywood, in the 1940s and 1950s, was expert at hiding scandals. Studio publicists worked overtime to present Spencer as a devoted family man and Kate as a confirmed spinster who was too independent for marriage. Their 9 films together, including classics like Adam's Rib, Pat and Mike, and Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, were presented as the collaboration of 2 great actors who happened to work well together. The chemistry audiences saw on screen was dismissed as professional compatibility, but those who knew them could see the truth in every frame. The way Spencer looked at Kate in Adam's Rib, with a mixture of love, admiration, and exasperation, was exactly how he looked at her in real life. The easy, comfortable intimacy they displayed on screen came from 25 years of loving each other off screen. The toll of their impossible love showed differently in each of them. Spencer's drinking, which had been a problem before he met Kate, became both better and worse during their relationship. Kate could get him to stop drinking for months at a time, but when the guilt and pressure became too much, he would disappear on benders that lasted for days. During these episodes, Kate would track Spencer down in whatever hotel bar or rented room he'd holed up in. and she would simply sit with him until the storm passed. She never lectured, never threatened to leave. She just waited, with the patience of someone who understood that love means accepting the whole person, not just the easy parts. Kate's pain was quieter, but no less profound. She watched her friends marry, have children, build conventional lives, while she remained frozen in a relationship that could never evolve or be acknowledged. She channeled her frustration into her work, becoming more demanding and perfectionist with each passing year. But there were also moments of pure happiness that made all the pain worthwhile. Spencer and Kate found ways to create a life together within the constraints they'd accepted. They had a routine that became sacred to them. Sunday mornings at Kate's house in the Hollywood Hills, reading the papers, drinking coffee, and simply being together without the pressures of work or the outside world. They traveled together constantly, always with separate hotel rooms, but spending every waking moment in each other's company. Kate would read to Spencer for hours. He had dyslexia and struggled with reading, something he'd hidden his entire career. She introduced him to literature, philosophy, and art that enriched his life immeasurably. Spencer, in turn, taught Kate about the craft of acting in ways no teacher ever had. He helped her understand that less is more, that truth on camera comes from what you don't show as much as what you do. Under his influence, Kate's performances became deeper, more nuanced, more human. Their friends watched their relationship with a mixture of admiration and heartbreak. Director George Cukor, who worked with both of them frequently, sighed, "I've never seen two people more perfect for each other or more doomed by circumstances." They brought out the best in each other, but they also lived with a constant undercurrent of sadness because they could never fully belong to each other. Actress Ruth Gordon, a close friend to both, observed, "Spencer and Kate lived more intensely in their stolen moments than most couples do in a lifetime of marriage. But the intensity came partly from knowing it couldn't last forever, that every moment was precious because it was borrowed." The crisis that nearly destroyed them came in 1955. Spencer's drinking had gotten progressively worse, and his guilt over the affair was eating him alive. He disappeared for 3 weeks, drinking heavily and refusing to see Kate or return to work. MGM was threatening to drop his contract, and his friends feared for his life. Kate found him in a rundown motel in Palm Springs, barely conscious and talking about suicide. She realized that their relationship, which had begun as his salvation, was now contributing to his destruction. For the only time in their 25-year relationship, Kate gave Spencer an ultimatum: choose. Either get help and stop drinking, or I'm walking away forever. I won't watch you kill yourself over guilt about loving. Spencer's choice in that moment revealed the depth of his love for Kate. He checked himself into a private treatment facility and spent 3 months getting sober. It was the longest they'd been apart since their affair began, and both of them nearly broke under the strain. Spencer wrote Kate letters every day from the facility, letters she kept until the day she died. In one of them, he wrote, "I know this love is a sin in the eyes of my church, but I also know it's the most pure and true thing I've ever experienced. If I'm damned for loving you, then I'm damned for the best part of myself." When Spencer got out of treatment, he stayed sober for the next 5 years, the longest period of sobriety in his adult life. Kate had literally saved his life by refusing to enable his self-destruction. But the price of his sobriety was a new kind of pain. Without alcohol to numb his feelings, Spencer felt the full weight of his impossible situation more acutely than ever. He was completely sober when he held Kate in his arms, knowing she deserved more than he could give her. He was completely sober when he went home to Louise, knowing he was betraying her every day with his presence. The guilt became so overwhelming that Spencer considered leaving both women and retiring from acting entirely. Only Kate's intervention stopped him. "You think you're being noble by suffering," she told him during one of their worst fights. "But you're not. You're being selfish. Louise has built her life around the fiction of your marriage, and I've built mine around loving you. You don't get to destroy both our lives just because you can't handle the complexity of your choices." Their later years together were marked by a deep, abiding tenderness. As they aged, Spencer and Kate's relationship evolved into something that transcended physical passion. They became essential to each other in ways that went beyond romance. They were creative partners, intellectual companions, and each other's closest friends. Their last film together, Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, was made when Spencer was clearly dying. His health was failing, his heart was weak, and everyone knew it might be their final collaboration. Watching that film today, knowing their history, is almost unbearably poignant. Every scene crackles with the unspoken knowledge that this is goodbye. Spencer's performance has a weight and gravitas that comes from a man who knows he's running out of time. And Kate's has an intensity that comes from watching the love of your life slip away. Spencer Tracy died on June 10, 1967, just 17 days after completing Guess Who's Coming to Dinner. He died at his home in Beverly Hills, not Kate's home, but the house he shared with Louise. True to their arrangement until the end, Kate was not there when Spencer died. She learned of his death from a phone call. Like any other friend or colleague at Spencer's funeral, Kate sat in the back of the church, wearing dark glasses and a simple black dress. She didn't approach the family, didn't draw attention to herself. Louise, in a final act of grace, briefly nodded to Kate in acknowledgement of their shared loss. Kate lived for another 36 years after Spencer's death, but she never fully recovered from losing him. She threw herself into her work with renewed intensity. But those who knew her said she was never quite the same. The light had gone out of her eyes. She would speak of Spencer to close friends, but always with the careful distance of someone discussing a professional colleague, never revealing the full depth of what they'd shared. In 1991, Kate finally wrote about Spencer in her autobiography. Even then, 24 years after his death, she was careful to maintain the fiction that they'd been just friends. But those who read between the lines could see the truth in every carefully chosen word. Today, Spencer Tracy and Katharine Hepburn's love affair is remembered as one of the great romances of Hollywood's golden age. But for those who lived through it, it was more tragedy than romance. It was the story of two people who found their perfect match but couldn't have each other completely. It was about love constrained by faith, society, and personal honor. It was about the price of choosing duty over happiness, and the courage it takes to love someone fully while accepting that love's limitations. What Spencer and Kate's story teaches us about love is complex and sometimes painful. Real love isn't always enough. Sometimes the timing is wrong. Sometimes the circumstances are impossible. Sometimes the obstacles are too great to overcome. But that doesn't make the love any less real or any less valuable. Spencer and Kate proved that love doesn't have to be perfect to be profound. Their relationship was built on compromise, secrecy, and sacrifice, but it was also built on genuine understanding, mutual respect, and a connection that lasted until death and beyond. They also showed us that there are many ways to honor love. Spencer honored his love for Kate by never abandoning Louise and their children, even when it would have been easier to walk away. Kate honored her love for Spencer by accepting the limitations of their relationship and never pressuring him to betray his deepest convictions. Louise honored her love for Spencer by maintaining their marriage and protecting their family, even knowing she was sharing her husband with another woman. None of these choices were easy. All of them involved tremendous sacrifice. but all of them were motivated by love. Different kinds of love, but love nonetheless. Perhaps that's the most important lesson from Spencer Tracy and Katharine Hepburn's story. Love isn't just passion. It's also responsibility, sacrifice, and the wisdom to know when holding on tight means letting go. It's about wanting the best for someone even when that's not what's best for you. For 25 years, Spencer Tracy and Katharine Hepburn loved each other with a depth and intensity that few people ever experience. They also hurt each other, frustrated each other, and caused each other immense pain. But when Spencer was dying, when he was struggling to finish his last film and his heart was failing, Kate was there. Not as his wife, not as his partner in the eyes of the world, but as the woman who knew him better than anyone and loved him exactly as he was. That's not a perfect love story. It's something much more valuable. It's a true one. What do you think? Does the story of Spencer Tracy and Katharine Hepburn's impossible love remind you of the complex choices we all face between duty and desire? Share your thoughts about the different ways we honor love, even when that love can't be everything we want it to be. If this story moved you, subscribe for more tales of Hollywood's golden age stars who proved that the greatest performances often happen off-screen. Because real love isn't about fairy tale endings. It's about finding ways to cherish each other within the constraints of real life. Sometimes, the most beautiful love stories are the ones that couldn't have happy endings.